Hello, everyone. Hello. We are bringing you greetings right from my car. We're talking tonight about intimate partner relationships. Should your partner complete you or complement you? We started this discussion a few days ago, and it kind of just went somewhere. So we decided we was going to just make it turn it into something even greater. So definitely excited about that. Want to give time. We like to get on early just to give folks time to get on. We're so very excited about everyone who will be joining us tonight. We're going to be talking about intimate partner relationships. Should your partner complete you or complement you? So let me check the 7:59. We're going to give folks some time. Folks said that they set their alarms tonight, so I'm looking forward to folks being on board tonight. We're very excited about that. Looking forward to having a great discussion. So we're going to give folks some time. Hope everybody is doing well. Hey, Teresina. Okay, we're gonna. I'm gonna. Yeah, I'm glad you actually started that. Why do you feel like just starting off, Teresina? Why do you feel like you should complete? You should compliment, not complete. What comes up for you when you think about complete versus compliment, if that makes sense? Welcome, Teresina. I hope you had a great day. Definitely excited. Hey, Eve Dallas, how are you doing? All right. Good to see you. Tonight we're talking about intimate relationships. Should your partner complete you or complement you? Let me see if I can do something right quick. All right, so we are getting into it. How's everybody doing? It's a great topic. Yeah. What do you think, Eve? Should your partner compliment you or should they complete you? What do you think? What is the why behind what you think? Oh, let me turn the car on. Hey, Annette. Good evening. Good evening. So good to see you. Very happy that you were able to join us tonight. So happy about that. Teresina says, I feel you should already be whole and that your partner only enhance or complement one another. Okay. They made something for me. You have to show me a little later. It's raining out here, y'all. So I'm sitting out in the rain, but definitely excited to be a part. All right, so we're going to get into what the difference is. How do you know? What is the difference between complimenting and completing? Can somebody tag Tasha, please? Tasha Ann. It's raining. Yeah, I think it's raining on the whole East Coast, y'all. Yeah. All right. So, if somebody can tag Tasha, if you're friends with Tasha, that would be very, very helpful for me. All right. So we're going to go ahead and get started because we like to start on time. We like to end on time. So what is the difference between completing and complimenting? And a lot of people may not know that answer. So we're going to start off. Okay, Eve, if you're able to get Tasha, that would be helpful. If not, it's okay. We're going to keep it moving, okay? It's no worries. All right, so tonight we are talking about, for folks who are joining, tonight we're talking about intimate partner relationships. Should your partner complete you or compliment you? And this is something that a lot of people talk about. And we talked about this on the Hour of Power segment when we talked about love. And how does love show up in our lives? And how do relationship dynamics work? And so oftentimes when we talk about relationship dynamics, most people would say, I compliment my partner. But there are a lot of people in relationships right now that say that their partner is they're complimenting their partner. But really it's a completing relationship. And we'll talk about the different dynamics, okay? So definitely we're going to get started tonight by just kind of separating what the difference between complimenting and completing is. Does that work for everybody? E says, I think a partner should compliment you because if there's something missing and you need to be completed, what happens? Absolutely. What happens when that person leaves? And oftentimes people don't realize it. Sometimes you go into a relationship with the right intention, And then after the relationship is, once the relationship is going, it can shift into being something where you're relying on that person to give you something in order to continue to move forward in the relationship and continue to grow in the way that you feel like you need to. And that becomes a completing relationship. It becomes less of complimenting and more of completing. Okay. There you go, Tasha. What's going on? I ain't got my watch on, but what's going on? Hope you're doing well. Glad to see you. All right, so we're going to talk about what is a complementing relationship and what is a completing relationship. Okay, what is the difference? Okay. Hey, I don't. Okay. All right. So, what's the difference? Okay. The difference is, what is the intent for you getting into the relationship, right? When you think about if you're in a relationship that completes you or a relationship that complements you, what is that intent? And oftentimes people who are in completing relationships are already in a place of brokenness. They don't feel like they are complete on their own. They do not feel like they're validated by their own experiences. They feel like they're in a place where they are needing that external validation. So they would begin to rely on someone else to give them things that they're not able to give themselves. So that's the start of a completing relationship. It usually starts with someone who is not in a place of complete healing. It comes it happens often, believe it or not. There are a lot of people who exit a relationship, they're broken, they meet someone that they have a high emotional connection with, and they would allow those emotions to drive them to be in a relationship. But the reality of it is that they have not taken the time to heal themselves. So they find themselves slowly but surely in the relationship relying on their partner to pull them through, to relying on that partner to continue to give them what they need in order to make it. And sometimes that can lead into some toxic places. We're going to talk about that. So what separates a complementing relationship and a completing relationship is the intent for why you're entering the relationship. Are you entering the relationship because you need validation? Are you entering the relationship because you feel like no one else is going to love you? You feel like some thoughts is you feel like you're settling. Do you enter a relationship because you feel incomplete or broken? Oh my God, my heart was broken, and I know that this person says that they love me. And this goes back to the conversation on love that we had the other day. The conversation on love, when we talked about that, we were like, well, when someone tells you that they love you, what do they really mean? What is it? What comes up for you? And being able to define what you want love to look like in your life is so important. Oftentimes people enter into relationships feeling like they can complement their partners, but because of brokenness, because of unhealed spaces, they will begin to rely on their partner, or their partners will begin to rely on them for things that they feel like they need. And so it's important, as you think about these dynamics, to recognize that a relationship that starts off as complimenting can easily shift into something that's more completing. And that says sometimes, absolutely. And that says sometimes you don't know you're not complete. You're absolutely right. And in that situation where you're in a relationship and you start to feel like your partner's words or your partner's feelings validate you, and you're no longer able to think clearly on your own, you're not able to operate as a free individual in a relationship, it's very it's very important that you recognize. And sometimes it's hard to pull away from those relationships, but that's why it's so important that you are in tune with what it is that you want. It's not about you not knowing sometimes that you're not complete. It's about knowing what your needs is before you enter into a relationship, how you want those needs to show up in your life. And that's what it means. Like when you take time out for yourself, it's important that you pull that. You pull on that. What is it that I need? How do I communicate what I need to my partner? How can they give me what I need and I still be whole? Or if I am broken, if I discover that I'm broken, how do I navigate through that? And you have to be able to plan those things and talk about those. I have so many conversations with myself in the mirror. It's not even funny. People might look at me and think I'm crazy, but I know myself in a way better place than what I've known myself before, and I'm able to communicate in a different way because I'm taking the time out to have those conversations with myself. What is it that I need in order to sustain? What would make me feel like I'm not in a healthy relationship? And recognizing all of those dynamics and those things that you set up for yourself are your own boundaries. And when you are in tune with what it is that you want, when you're into a relationship and you find yourself feeling like, okay, maybe I'm not healed, then then you're able to navigate that. You're able to talk to someone, whether that's a counselor, whether that's a neutral party friend, or someone that you can talk to and navigate on how to begin to heal yourself. Oftentimes, the problem comes is when you realize, when you come to a knowing that you're complete or you're not complete, it's often too late because you've already started pulling on your partner. We had a segment on attachment. Attachment is so very important. Understanding your own attachment style. Just taking the attachment style quiz can help you understand, well, am I healed? If you're scoring anything outside of secure, then 9 times out of 10, there's some things that need to be healed. And so recognizing those things for yourself, navigating, quizzing yourself, taking yourself through transitions where you are allowing yourself to heal in a place by yourself, it can do wonders. So, and I understand completely when you say that sometimes you don't know, but we can do things to get ourselves, to bring awareness to ourselves, whether or not we're in a healthy relationship or not. Eve says, I could never figure out how. Oh, y'all talking about something else. Oh, okay. So any thoughts about that so far? Well, before we navigate and start talking about what a completing relationship looks like, and did that make sense to you, or do I need to say it a different way? I want to make sure that we are all clear in our communication. I want to make sure that you're able to understand, and it's not a bashing or it's nothing like that. It's not a shaming. It's definitely important that we are able to talk. There's no worries, Teresina, that we're able to talk about what it is that we need before we ever enter into a relationship. And listen, I need y'all to hear this. If you're unable to determine what it is that you need if you're not able to communicate what you need before entering a relationship, then 9 times out of 10, you're not ready for a relationship. And oftentimes we would enter the relationship and just take things as is. And those as is moments do not work for us because we recognize that they're not fulfilling us in certain ways. And so it's so important that we take the time out, assess yourself. There's so many assessments. I took that attachment style quiz and in my life changed. It's like, oh, I still have some stuff I need to work on. And that's okay, because when you recognize that you have stuff to work on, it doesn't mean that you won't be in a relationship. It means that you now know what you need to do so that you don't rely on your partner to make you whole. That was good. And I probably can't repeat that, but definitely want you to recognize that it's not about you you got to be this solid person. It's not that, because we all have flaws. We are going to, there's some healing that comes in healthy relationships. So recognizing that you're not going to always be 100% healed, but you no longer have to rely or you don't enter a relationship relying on your partner to give you those things that you need in order to be full, in order to be whole. And that says, I love your questions. I really appreciate you. And it says, what if the brokenness has nothing to do with an intimate relationship? I'll give you a case in point. There was someone who entered in a relationship, and I've worked with a great deal of couples, a great deal of people. I knew someone who entered into a relationship who was broken, but because of something that a parent did. And so things were coming up in the relationship that reminded them of what their parent did for them. And in that relationship, they found themselves like seeking validation in certain ways. It became very toxic and unhealthy. I bring that to the light because I want you to hear that it doesn't always have to be your ex-partner hurt you. And so you're entering in a relationship you're entering into a relationship broken. It doesn't have to have anything to do with an intimate partner. But when you're entering a relationship and you know that there's some brokenness that has not healed, or something comes up for you in a healthy relationship where you're able to compliment your partner, you would be able to communicate that. And there may be some healing that comes outside of that. The problem again comes in when you are relying on your partner to fulfill a space in you that you refuse to fix on your own. Does that make sense? So I definitely hear you that the brokenness does not have to be contributed to by somebody before you in relationship, or someone who was an intimate partner years ago. It doesn't have to come into the relationship in that form. But whenever you sense brokenness in your life, you have to, if you're not able to talk about it, if you're not able to deal with it inwardly, then that's when it can become a problem in the relationship, where the relationship becomes a completing relationship and not a complementing relationship. And I know that's a lot of like terms going back and forth, so it can be hard to keep it engaged. But if you don't have clarity on something, ask me. I will slow it down and we will learn it together. We will talk about it together, okay? And if you want to go further about that, we can definitely go into scenario-based stuff and talk about that, okay? All right. So what are the signs of a completing relationship? How do you know that you're in a relationship that is completing you and not complimenting you? The first thing is you are going to be connected to someone who will begin to depict or determine your well-being. Hear me. So you're in a relationship when you're in a completing relationship, you are relying on your partner to determine your well-being. Their compliments, their desires, their needs determine your role in the relationship. It determines what it is that you give up for the relationship. There is no improvement of growth. You're not able to grow because you're constantly giving so that your partner can be happy, and they're constantly giving you so that you can be happy. Remember the other day when we talked about attachments, and if you didn't watch it, I recommend you go back and watch the attachment style video. When we talked about attachments, we talked about the difference between different attachment styles and how they complement or how they contrast with each other. And so recognizing in a completing relationship, you are relying on your partner to give you what you need in order to make it. Well, my partner didn't tell me I was beautiful today, so maybe I don't look good. Or my partner wants me to do all of these things, so you're doing all of these things for your partner to enhance them, thinking that it's going to make you feel better, but it makes you feel worse because you're not putting anything into yourself. So that's when it becomes a completing relationship. You're relying on this person. Their attitude, when they come in, they have a horrible day. It definitely changes you. That is a completing relationship, when you're not able to be your whole self in the relationship because of how they feel. Okay? So that is the first step. The other one is the relationship becomes one-sided. So there's somebody that always has a need, and another person is always giving up themselves for that person. And it can become draining. It can become emotionally overwhelming for a person. Yes, absolutely, Eve. You revolve everything around filling yourself up around them. You see this is the layman's term thing. When you're in a completing relationship, you are seeking external validation and you are lacking internal validation. And that's the key. You are seeking external. You're seeking people to tell you about yourself. You're seeking people to help you get in line with who you are. You're seeking people to pull you into a place where you're okay. And you are not able to put that into yourself. And it happens all the time. So there's people right now who may be watching this video, or when you share this video, that may see this video and say, you know what? I thought I was complimenting my partner, but really it sounds like I'm completing them because I'm giving up so much of myself to make them happy, and I'm making myself miserable. And it happens so often. It can happen so quick. And that's why it's important when we go back to that term on love, when we go back to talking about what it is that you want in a relationship, you have to be able to communicate your needs to your partner. You have to be able to receive the communication that they're telling you what they need. And you're either going to mesh together, or you're going to clash. Eve Dallas said something as simple as a hairstyle you really like, but you won't get it because they won't like it. Absolutely. You won't change. You won't do things that will make you happy because you're concerned that it's going to change them. That can be a completing relationship. And that, please ask me again, what would you like for me to break down? We talked about a relationship becoming one-sided. So a completing relationship is one-sided, meaning that somebody has greater needs than the other. So there's a neglect that's happening. There's someone who is giving up so much of themselves to make the other person happy. And they are lacking making themselves happy. And we talked about how when you're in a completing relationship, you're seeking external validation and you're not open to validating yourself internally. So you're getting you're waiting on people to give you compliments from the outside, but you're not able to affirm yourself on the inside. And please ask questions, and I really appreciate you for being engaged and asking questions, because I want to make sure that we all are on the same page. And if it doesn't make sense, I can definitely reword it so it can make sense for all of us to make sure we're taking something away from this. Okay. So please feel free, Annette, to comment. Another way, that you would, another sign of a completing external validation. Okay, so external validation, before we move forward. External validation means you are externally, meaning outside of yourself, meaning your mama, your cousin, whoever else is outside. You're seeking compliments. You're seeking I'm going to get to your question in a second, Susan, but you're seeking you're seeking people outside of yourself to give you what you need in order to feel better about yourself. Okay. So instead of you looking in the mirror and saying, look, I look beautiful today, you're seeking somebody else to tell you that so it can make you feel good about you. So that's an external validation, meaning you're not doing it within yourself. Within yourself is you're able to look in the mirror and say, I'm fine. And I'm going to take this town today. And you're affirming yourself in a positive way. But oftentimes in completing relationships, we are seeking people to tell us how we should feel about ourselves. And so we find ourselves in a position where we are unable to validate us. So that other person's comment becomes how we take on how we see ourselves. Does that make sense? If not, I can go deeper. Okay. Got it. Okay. Susan says, what happens when you communicate what is needed to maintain your relationship and they don't acknowledge it? We talked about that the other day. And so I definitely appreciate your question, Susan. When you're able to communicate a boundary, when you're able to communicate, this is what I need. I need you to be honest with me. I need you to be trustworthy. I need you to be this, and this. I need you to wash the dishes at night. Whatever it is that you may need from your partner, when you are communicating your need and that individual is not able to validate, and they're not able to comply is a strong word, but they're not able to meet you where you are communicating your need, then that is a sign that, one, they may be unable to meet your need, meaning is the expectation that you're asking for realistic, or they just don't care about your boundary. Or they don't care about what it is that you want. And I'm a firm believer that when people show you who they are, that we have to believe it. And the harshest reality is believing that a person that you love so dearly, that you cared about the most, that said that they loved you, ends up doing something to hurt you and cause harm into your life. That is a harsh reality. And oftentimes, many people, when they recognize that their partners may not be able to fulfill their needs, they make the decision to stay anyway with the hope that the person will one day change. And that leads into toxic relationships. That leads into abusive relationships, because that person has showed you that, one, they either cannot meet your expectation because it's unrealistic, or two, they don't want to. And it could be many other options, but those are the first two. Because a person who really loves you, a person who really cares about you, is willing to do whatever in a healthy way. Right? In a healthy way. They're willing to do what it takes to make you happy and to make sure you feel secure. And that could be something as simple as, okay, let me just go in and take 5 minutes and wash these dishes so we can have a good night, and not have to be a long drawn out thing. So recognizing that when you communicate your boundaries, when you communicate your feelings to people, they have the choice whether or not they want to honor it or not. And if they choose not to honor it and they don't give explanation, then it's okay to ask them why they're not honoring it. And if they don't want to talk about it, or if they get angry about it, then that may be a sign that they're not the best for you. I hope that answered your question. Okay, so you basically asked your partner for romance without having to ask for it, and their response no, or their response may have been not to do it. And it could be a multitude of things, Susan. It could be that person does not know how to romance you. And that's where healthy communication can come in. It doesn't mean that this is the end of your relationship. It doesn't mean that this is the most horrible thing. It could be, okay, do you even know what I want? Because some people have anxiety. Like, okay, my partner is asking me to do this, but I don't know how to do it. I don't know how to come through for her or him or them or they. I don't know how to show up for my partner in the way that they want me to. And that's where communication is so important. Sometimes in order to communicate a boundary, or communicate a concern, or communicate something that you want, you have to be able to go all the way down and say, look, this is what I need from you. And it could be all the way down to the bare bottom, where you're being so detailed that if they get it wrong, they would have to just not have it up here. But that's where communication is so important. They may not know how to romance you, and that may draw anxiety. They may draw up some fear. They may draw up things that they're like, okay, I know that this is what she wants, but how can I do this and be like, it could be so many things. So asking questions, when you ask the question and you're like, okay, so why is it that you have a hard time romancing me? And they say, you know what? Well, I don't want to. Now that's them telling you they don't want to do it. And that's fine, because now you know that they don't want to give you what it is that you're asking for. And so recognizing that when you ask those questions, we said the other day on Hour of Power, it is okay to ask your partner why. And when we think about the word why, we think about that annoying kid that's 5 years old. It's like, why mama, why mama, why mama? And it gets annoying. But why is so important, because people will tell you their intent behind when you start to ask questions. Even if they get angry, that is an intent. That is an issue. That is a concern. And so recognizing that when you ask your partner questions and you're starting to have healthy communication with your partner and they shut down, that may be stuff that's coming up for them, and that may be a sign for you. But oftentimes we would just kind of retract and not have those conversations. And we find ourselves in a place where we're being angry. We're find ourselves in a place when we're angry with our partners because of something they don't even know about. And we talked about that briefly the other day. Okay? Okay, so you're saying your partner always agrees and knows how to, but only happens when I ask. Then that may be something that's coming up for them. And so, definitely, keeping that communication open. But if you find that that's something, that's a need that you have that you're not willing to compromise on, that's a need that you, like you're saying right now, you don't even ask anymore. So you're giving up a part of what you want because your partner doesn't know how to deliver, then that could be a sign. That could be a sign of something more. And if the relationship, and that doesn't mean that's the end all be all, meaning your relationship has to be over. It just means that there needs to be some different types of communication happening, maybe couples counseling, just to kind of get to some root of things, because there may be a deeper concern. There may be intimacy issues because of something that happened in your partner's past. I don't know what the answer is, but I know that there's something coming up if you're only getting what it is that you desire from your partner when you ask for it. And we're going to talk about that as we talk about complementing relationships. But definitely recognizing that in a completing relationship, it may or may not be based on genuine love. It may not be based on genuine love. This is why it's so important that we recognize. People will say, I love you. I love you is probably one of the most frequent phrases used in the entire world on a regular basis, in every language, all the time. It is used so frequently. But how do you know that a person really loves you? How do you know? What is the intent behind when you say, I love you? And that's what we kind of talked about the other day, and recognizing the intent behind what it is that you need from your partner when you say, or when they say, I love you. Recognizing that in a completing relationship, it may not be based on love. It may be based on lust. It may be based on a social norm. Okay, well, I'm going to get in this relationship because we just look good together. And I want to make sure that all my exes know that I moved on and I'm happy. It may be on a whole nother intent. That is a completing relationship. And recognizing what is the basis, what is the intent for you starting the relationship, what is it that you need out of the relationship. Recognizing those things can lead you to understanding what the difference is between a completing relationship and a complementing relationship. Another sign that you're in a completing relationship is you feel lost, lonely, confused, and broken without your partner present. So you begin to feel like, without my partner present, I am nothing. I can't make it. I don't know what to do. I don't know I don't know how I'm going to go on, and all of these things. That is a sign of a completing relationship. A completing relationship. Okay? Okay? And a completing relationship has the potential to become toxic if you're not careful. Because when a relationship is one-sided, meaning you're fulfilling one person's needs or they're fulfilling your needs, that's it, then it can easily become abusive. It can easily become unhealthy. It can become manipulative. It can become controlling. It's so many things that can fall into play. That's why it's so important. We do the educational part, right? We're teaching you on what it is to how to identify these different dynamics in relationships. But you are doing the part in making a decision whether or not you want to stay in it or not. Okay. And so a relationship that is completing would suggest that the relationship or the happiness in the relationship is contingent upon what the other person wants. So because my partner is happy, now I'm happy. Have you ever said that before? I know I have. Because I'll do all of these things to make my partner happy because it makes me happy. And that is one of the greatest lies that we could tell ourselves, is that I'm going to do this because it makes my partner happy. But in the long run, if we're neglecting ourselves in the process, then we're not doing anything to help ourselves. We're just externally feeling happy because they're smiling. And we don't realize it's layers and layers and layers and layers and layers of stuff that we may be doing for other people. Hey, sis. I'm gonna get right to your comments, sis. It's layers and layers and layers of things that we do for our partners, and we're neglecting ourselves in the long run. And it becomes, y'all having technical difficulties. Okay, Dre. And it becomes very one-sided. It becomes very distorted. And recognizing that can happen very quickly, okay? My sister says, Tiffany, some people seek completion rather than being complimented from others because they're unhappy with themselves and they feel an emptiness inside. Absolutely, sis, you be on it. They think the person will feel the void. Absolutely. It is unhealthy. We believe when we are going into relationships and we are looking for validation, we believe that that person is going to give us what we need in order to sustain. We believe that they're going to fulfill the emptiness that we feel on the inside. And that is most of the time not true, because when you're not fulfilled, you'll be constantly looking for people to give you something that will never make you happy on the inside. Why? Because you refuse to deal with what it is on the inside that you haven't healed from. And when you're not healed, I don't care if the president, if Obama, let me say that. If Obama and Michelle Obama, all of them are saying all of these great things to you, it's only going to be temporary. It's only going to fulfill you for a moment because you're not willing to do the work to invest in yourself. Okay? So it is a self-need, and you're absolutely right, sis. It is very unhealthy because you feel like the person can fill the void. That they're gonna help me. They're gonna give me what I need. And we're so confident about it. And all the while we're neglecting ourselves. We're telling ourselves that we don't matter because we're not willing to put into ourselves the things that we're expecting others to give us. And when they mess up, we get mad at them. But really, we should be internalizing that thing and getting mad at ourselves and saying, look, I need to do better because I deserve better than what this person is giving me. So, in a completing relationship, happiness is contingent on one person or the other person. I'm doing all of these things to make this person happy because it makes me happy, and it's really not true. It may make you happy for a little bit, but after a while, you're going to start feeling that thing on the inside, like I'm not okay. And then when you start to feel that on the inside that I'm not okay, it's about what you do with that. It is okay to take space if you feel like you need to get yourself together in a relationship. And when you are with a partner that compliments you, they will be able to give you safe space in order for you to deal with yourself, because they would want you to be your best you. They would want you to be healed. They would want you to be happy. They would want you to be whole before trying to enter into a relationship so that you can be the best for them, so that you all can walk together. Okay. Samantha says, oftentimes we look for our mates to fulfill us in areas that only... Oh, that's a good one. No, that is a good... I didn't think about that. But oftentimes we do. We look for people to fulfill us in places that only God can. Only God can. And then we get so mad. We get so frustrated. And that's why it's so important that we, and we're going to talk about this when we talk about how to compliment. We're going to teach you how to compliment your partner and not be completing of your partner. One of the things that's so important in that is you recognize that you have to make realistic expectations. You cannot expect your partner to be all present and all knowing, and you can't expect him to be, or her to be, or they to be omniscient and all of these other things that only God can do, right? We cannot expect that. That is not a realistic expectation. And that's why it's so important that communication starts out fresh in a relationship. This is what I need. And if it's unrealistic, you should be able to communicate. Like, I don't know how I'm supposed to show up in your life. Communicating those hurdles, communicating those areas in the relationship that are designed to be healthy, that are designed to help you be your best you. Communicating that. That's what happens in the beginning. We get very, very, very caught up in emotional stuff. We get caught up in emotions that, oh, this person just makes me feel so amazing. And we're so caught up in our emotions that our logic is jacked up. So then we wake up one day and we like, why am I in a relationship with this person? Because we done pretended so long to be happy that we are miserable on the inside. Because we never had the communication. We never talked to them. We never had more than just intimacy. It's so much deeper than just having a love for someone. What is that love supposed to look like in your life? And ask yourself that question. What is love supposed to look like in my life? I need y'all to share this video. Thank you so much, Camilla, for sharing. I really appreciate you. And it does need to be heard. There's so many people that need to understand. A lot of people are in relationships right now. Like, I compliment my partner. They match my swag and all of these things. And it's really a completing relationship. It's unhealthy. It's toxic. It's got a terrible dynamic. And it can all be transitioned if you would just revamp and start to communicate what it is that you need. And if they're not able to meet that expectation, then they got to go. And a realistic expectation, not just some grandiose thing. So recognizing that conversation, having communication, healthy communication is necessary for a relationship to flourish. Okay? All right. So in a completing relationship, I like this. I had to borrow this from somebody. I really appreciate this. Both are constantly sacrificing and no one is gaining. Now that's a good one. Both people are constantly sacrificing in the relationship. I'm giving up all this stuff to make this person happy. This person is giving up everything to make their partner happy. And neither person is gaining. So there's a disconnect that's happening. And that disconnect could be the communication. Listen, I was taught this back in the day. I used to be in ROTC. And my commander said one time, he said, there's some people that you have to say, hey, can you take the trash out, right? And they'll just know to get the trash out the trash can, wrap it up, and take it outside. But then there's other people where you have to say, listen, I need you to grab the trash bag. I need you to tie the trash bag up. I need you to grab that, and I need you to take it outside. You have to be very detailed in your communication. Okay? So in recognizing that your level of communication, you have to be very detailed in telling the person, this is what I need from you. This is what I need. And if they're unable to meet that, and you have to be mindful of and I keep saying it, your realistic or unrealistic expectation. You have to be mindful of your communication and your expectation, because that will determine who they are. If we would sit down and have conversations with people, I promise you, they will tell you who they are. They will reveal themselves, because people can pretend for only X amount of time. But when you ask enough questions and you have enough communication and you're able to observe and you're able to feel and you're able to tap into your logistical mind, then you're able to dissect what it is that you really need from a person. And you're able to dissect whether or not they're able to give that to you. And you don't have to worry about them breaking your heart, because you would go ahead and cut that thing off like, this is not going to work for me. I don't know what you mean, Tasha, when you said, like you said, 3 months. 3 months. Oh, yeah, 90 days. 90 days. People will show you who they are. And I'm telling you, 90 days. For real. Hey, it's 16 people on here. I need y'all to share this video. Can y'all do that for me? Thank you so much. And I appreciate those who are speaking and those who are not. I really appreciate you for the love. Okay. One of the other things, we just said that both are constantly sacrificing and no one is gaining. Okay. So that's a sign of a completing relationship. Okay. And a level, here's the last one, okay? In a completing relationship, and absolutely right, Kenosha, sometimes it's less than that. Sometimes it's 3 days if you're lucky. And so it's important that you are definitely having these conversations, okay? So here we go. Thank you, sis. A level of toleration. There's a level of toleration for the relationship. And resentment often builds up in a completing relationship. So because you're giving so much to somebody else, you're often resenting. Have you ever been in a relationship where you're giving, you feel depleted, and then you're resenting the relationship because you're like, why am I not being met? Why are my needs not being met? You're often resenting, and it often becomes hostile. Have you been mad at somebody and you're in a relationship because they didn't feel what you were feeling? I know I have. I'm like, I know that this person got to feel what I'm feeling. They got to feel me. I know it, right? And I'm in a place where I'm frustrated and so upset with somebody. But the reality of it is that they can't feel you because you've already fulfilled them. They're already in their good place. But you've depleted so much of yourself that you're in this hole, that the only person that can dig you out is you. And that's the powerful part. The only person that can dig you out of the sinking hole is you. And recognizing that when you're giving so much of yourself to other people and not enough to yourself, there's an imbalance going on. There's bound to be a deficit somewhere. There's either going to be a deficit and you give it to others, or a deficit and you give it to yourself. And if you're already dedicating 80% of your time, and that's another way to determine if you're in a completing relationship, the relationship will be 80, 20, 70, 30. It'll be 80, 20, 70, 30, 60, 40. It will always be something that is not 100. It would be, I'm giving more of myself, or that person is giving more of themselves, and somebody's drawn up short. Eve says, Kanosha, I know that's right. I have abandoned ship after conversing with someone. Listen, y'all, I'm telling you, communication is so important. And I understand, it's easy to be single. And in that single time, and here's the thing, there's so many people that are like, I'm single. Nobody loves me. I just can't have nobody. And that is the time. That is the most beautiful time for you to be like, you know what? I'm single. Let me tell you something. I took myself out to lunch today by myself, minding my business, doing my thing. Why? Because I want to be able to love me in ways that I can love me before another person comes in and tries to do that for me. Because oftentimes we would not be taking care of ourselves, and then that person comes in, they taking us on dates, and they're doing all of these great things for us, and we feel like this is the best thing in the world. But the reality of it is that you should be doing that for yourself. And if you can't afford to take yourself to lunch, then make yourself a lunch at home and have a nice candlelit dinner by yourself. Learn how to romance and love on yourself in relationship with yourself. That is how healing, that is how wholeness, that is how all of these things can come together and connect. This is how you know what it is that you want. You are the best judge for what it is that you want. And if you're talking down on yourself, if you're treating yourself like garbage and somebody else comes along and treats you great, that is the breeding ground for a completing relationship, because they're making you feel better than what you make yourself feel like. Kenosha, sometimes it is this person that the person has a high expectation, and this is why they have resentments. Absolutely. And we have to be mindful, y'all, of our expectations. We're going to talk about that in just a bit. The expectation level. All right, Terracine, you better go ahead and enjoy your single life, girl. Justina says, we have to love ourselves enough to let our expectations, wants, needs, and desires known. For most people, there are no rules of engagement when it comes to relationships. You just learn. Right. Now, that is such a good point. Look, I love to drive. Y'all know I like to sit in my car. Most of all my videos I do from my car. This is my safe place, right? But what's so important is I would never be able to drive this car if I didn't go through the driver's test, if I didn't take the driver's lessons, if I didn't go through taking the hand manual and taking the computer, like all of that stuff. I would never be able to drive a car. I mean, I could, but I wouldn't be driving legally or whatever. You cannot just go down the road and say, well, whatever happens, happens in a relationship, because your heart, your mind, your spirit, your everything is on the line. And so often we would get into those relationships. You're absolutely right, Justina. We would get into relationships where we're like, okay, we're just learning on the job. We'll just let however this person shows up, this is what I'm going to take. And it leads us down a path where we often regret. We're often angry with ourselves. We're often we become bitter. We become confused. We become all of these things because we relied on someone else, or we relied on just time to fix whatever it was in a relationship. And that's not what we can do anymore. That's not where we are. As a healed, happy, and whole individual, as a full individual, you have to be able to communicate your needs to your partner in order for it to be anywhere. In order for it to go anywhere. Lakeisha says, I try to keep an open mind, but some things are just game over. Right. I try to assume good intent with everyone, but sometimes it's like, okay, at some point, this good intent doesn't seem good. And I have to stop. You know, it happens. So definitely. Dre says, I used to always date myself. That's beautiful. Absolutely. Eve says, I try to explain that to my mom when she's going on and on about the killer getting, because I go to the movie on the road trips alone. I go on about, okay. So you try to explain that. You try to explain what to your mom? Okay, so basically, you're basically saying that you try to explain to your mom that it's okay to go out by yourself and it's okay to do certain things. And I recognize that it definitely is important that you are able to. Y'all don't entertain Eve tonight, okay? I'm not doing that. I really be trying to keep my face together with Eve, but Eve always says some things, y'all, that are funny. So I really appreciate you bringing the comedy to the hour, but it's definitely important that you're able to communicate why it is that you want to be able to date yourself. You're able to communicate that this is my time for me. And even if you're dating someone in the midst of dating yourself, that's okay. And recognizing that dynamic. Okay, so we're going to move real quick because we have about 15 minutes, y'all. We're going to move right quick into what a complimenting relationship is, because there may be a lot of people in complimenting relationships. Okay, a complimenting relationship is inspiring one another. Okay, both people come to the table inspiring one another. They're bringing goals to the table on their own. They already come with their own focus. Like, listen, this is what I aspire to do in my future. This is what I aspire to do. Okay, how can I help you get to where you're going? And how can I help you there's an even distribution of listen, this is who I am. This is what I'm bringing to the table. This is what I love to do. This is how I'm going to show up. And you're able to inspire one another and support one another to being their best them. And that's important. In a complimenting relationship, the union, the connection in itself improves both individuals. Okay? It improves your well-being. It improves who you are. It makes you feel good about yourself. Not because you're relying on that person to make you feel good, but it makes you feel good about yourself because you're with someone who sees the best in you and also sees the best in themselves and want to get both of y'all to the place, or you both want to get to a place where you want to be your best in every way. You're complimenting each other. What is another way that you recognize a complimenting relationship? There's genuine love in the relationship. There's genuine love. There's genuine compassion. I'm really concerned about how you move forward. I'm really concerned about, how we make this next step. I'm really, and it's passionate. It's loving. It's healthy. In a complimenting relationship, there's growth and healing. Now I'm saying healing on purpose. Okay. There's a level of growth. Do you grow with your partner? Are you and your partner growing? Are you and your partner building together? Or is one person building bricks and the other person taking them down? And recognizing these questions and asking yourself, am I growing with this person? Do I feel better about myself? Do I feel like I'm better? If you've been in a relationship with someone for 10 years, are you better than where you were when you started the relationship? And that's a sign. And recognizing that if you've been with your relationship for 1 year, are you better in that 1 year span than where you were when you first started? Eve says someone who's encouraging you versus always highlighting negative things. Absolutely. They're encouraging you. They're literally complimenting. Like, you are beautiful. I am proud of you. Just something as simple as I am proud of you can be a very powerful term in a relationship. And pushing your partner forward. Not, I'm proud of you, but you could have did XYZ better. Now that's not complimenting. Absolutely. Justina says there has to be a willingness to learn, adapt, and grow. Growth is important. And in a complimenting relationship, it produces growth and healing. And the reason why I say healing, yes, you're going to come to the table with your full self, right? You're going to come to the table in a complimenting relationship whole and healed in your own individual capacity. But there's some level of healing that comes in a relationship, especially a healthy relationship. Meaning there may be issues. Just because you're in a complimenting relationship doesn't exempt you from arguments, disagreements, and different things. But there's a level of healing that comes with your partner in that. Okay, I can heal with this person. Yes, this may have hurt my feelings, but I can heal and grow with this person because I know that they have my best interest at heart and I have their best interest in heart. Okay, so there's a level of healing and growth that comes in relationship with a complimenting relationship. Okay, in a complimenting relationship, Eve says we can always improve on something in our life, but we don't feel like it's healthy to have a partner who's always overlooking your good. Absolutely, absolutely. And that says it's we or us, not all we, I, me. Right. So it's a we or us. It's a how can we do this together. It's one of those type of things. And it's not just the I or me, or I get upset when you do that. Like, it's not a accusatory type of thing. It's like a connected type of relationship. Like, we are going to do this together. We're going to move forward. And recognizing that when the language changes, language is a lot, y'all. When language changes and you're with someone who's like, well, I'm going to do me and all of these things, you might want to pay attention to those signs, because that could be be leading into something that may be unhealthy. Okay. Dre says, I have to see growth. That's my favorite word. Absolutely. Tasha says, it's very important to me. Complimenting, supporting, and encouraging. Absolutely. It's very important, okay? In a complimenting relationship, there's healthier dynamics and there's communication. So there are people who are talking. They're able to get down to the nitty-gritty of what is going on. They're able to communicate even in the most awkward times. Even in an argument, they're able to walk away, maybe take some breaths, and they're able to communicate what it is that they need and how the situation may not happen again. And that's so important because healthy communication dynamics are going to lead to a more successful relationship. Oftentimes in a completing relationship, you get mad, you start lunging out at folks, and you start telling them how you feel because now you mad and you feel like you got a little bit of power to do that. And that's not the right space to do that. And recognizing how that can change the dynamic of the relationship. Okay. So in a complimenting relationship, I like this one. I had to steal this one too. Okay. In a complimenting relationship, there's 100, right? We talked about in a completing relationship, there's like 80-20, 90-10. Oh, that would be really not okay. There's 70-30, 60-40, all of those things that's happening in that dynamic. But in a complementing relationship, you're bringing your full self into it. Like, you know what? I'm not going to come in here punishing you for what my ex did or punishing you for what grandma did and punishing you for all these other things. I'm going to bring my full self into this relationship and I'm going to love you the best way I know how because I'm ready. I'm ready to be in a relationship and I'm ready to love with my full self. And that is the difference in a complimenting relationship, knowing that you can bring your full self into the space and it's okay. You could tell your partner things that you've never told them or you've never told anyone. There's a safe space with your partner. And that's so important in a complimenting relationship. You can't compliment. Oh my God. You cannot compliment someone you don't know. You can't. You cannot compliment a person that you have no clue who they are. How? Y'all swag is on point because y'all dress the same way and wear the same Jordans? That's not complimenting. Complimenting happens internally. How do I match my partner's swag inwardly? Okay? And recognizing that, okay? So we're going to move down because we got about 9 minutes, y'all, okay? We're going to move 9 minutes. All right. So how can you compliment your partner? For those who want to be in a relationship with someone and it's like, okay, I want to know how I compliment my partner in the best way. How do you compliment your partner? First, you have to seek healing. Oh man, how do I do that? Well, absolutely, sis. It's deep in the swag. It's deeper. I'm gonna finish my statement in just a minute. I want to go back to some comments. My sister says growth is a must. We're not going and we're not growing. I will be going. Okay. If we're not growing, I will be going. Yes, sis. I love that. Teresita says, is there such a thing as being too independent in your relationship? For example, I was once told, why am I with you when it's obvious you don't need me? The person said they wanted to feel that. The person said they wanted to feel that I needed them, but I'm still lost on that one because actually I've never needed a mate. They always needed me. And I was always the breadwinner, motivator, etc. Okay, so that's a great question. Anybody want to chime in on that answer? Because I do think it's a lot of great thoughts on this page. So anybody, please chime in on this comment. Teresina's comment that I just read out loud. Go back and read it. Definitely. Can you chime in on that? Because I want to definitely make sure that everybody's voice is heard and it's so important. Dre says, Teresina, they needed validation. Absolutely. Yo, you took the words right out of my mouth. Wanting to feel important is not your responsibility. Okay. So that is so important. And I recognize and I thank you, Dre, for bringing that out. And anybody else has any information or any comments that they want to bring out to the page. This is a very interactive video. We like to interact. We like to talk. We like to acknowledge and validate each other. But definitely, I would say that was more of their concern and not yours, right? And oftentimes, this is good, though. I'm so happy you asked that question. Oftentimes, in a completing relationship, we will often assume responsibility for other people's stuff. And that's not our responsibility. And we would end up trying to overcompensate, trying to help them out when we're hurting ourselves in the process. And that is not what God intends for you to have. That is not the best for you, and recognizing those steps. So yes, Teresina, although that person was like, well, honestly, I don't need to be in this relationship if you don't need me. That's their stuff. That's something that's coming up for them, because in a complimenting relationship, your partner wants you to be your best you. Look, I want you to go out. I trust you enough that you're going to make a great decision for our household, for our family, you're going to do great because you recognize that you are your best you. And I trust you in being your best you. That's the complimenting part. When you're able to push your partner into greatness because you believe in them just like they believe in themselves. Not, well, let me just pull on you a little bit because I need you to need me or I ain't going to be validated. No. That is definitely grounds for a completing relationship, okay? Kenosha says it's not always about financial. It could have been emotional need. There's nothing wrong with emotional needs being met. Absolutely. And Kenosha, I agree. There's nothing wrong with emotional needs being met, but it has to be communicated directly. Listen, we're not living in a world now where we're just, guessing people's thoughts. I've never been able to accurately guess people's thoughts unless the Holy Spirit revealed something to me that I needed to say to a person based on what they were thinking or feeling, and blah, 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 blah. But it is important, Kenosha, that even when we're communicating that we need our emotional needs met, we have to be in a place that we're healed enough to communicate that in a way that we're not holding our partners accountable for something that we're not able to talk about. If we're not able to talk about it, then we can't hold our partners accountable. Yes, I do agree that in Teresina's situation, there was something that came up for that partner. But instead of them being able to accurately communicate what they needed, you know what? I need you to, I want you to feel like, I want to feel like you, you need me in some way, and communicate that in a healthy way. That's different. But to throw like a shady note or something like that, that is when it becomes toxic. That's when it becomes manipulative. That's when it slightly becomes controlling. And we want to definitely make sure that there's a difference in talking about that. We separate that, because I can say to my partner, listen, I feel disconnected. I feel like I feel like when we talk about such and such and such, you shut down. That is an emotional concern, right? That is an emotional concern, but you're addressing it directly and not through some shady comment. Okay, I want to make sure that makes sense. Absolutely. Okay, so we have about 5 minutes. How can you compliment your partner? You got to heal. How do you heal? You got to take some time out for yourself and recognize what it is that you want. Make a list. Y'all, look, I like to write. Look at my writing. Okay, I just doodle and write and all kinds of things. I like to write. And this is not just my lessons. I journaled last night for the first time in years, and I was able to write and gather my thoughts. It is so very important that you're able to know what it is that you want. And the only way you can know what it is that you want, is through your own investment in yourself. Okay? You got to be able to do that. I need to take some time out for me. Sometimes I got to turn my phone. I try not to turn my phone off. But there's sometimes I have to shut the phone off and go into another room and take care of myself. Because if I'm not my best me, how can somebody else be their best them? I mean, how can someone else compliment me at being my best me, rather? That's what I meant to say. I have to learn how to be, you have to learn how to be your best you, showing up, whether there's a person on your arm or not. Okay. So, seek healing. That's important. How else do you compliment your partner? You have to determine why you're going into a relationship. What is your intent for the relationship? And this is an assessment for yourself. When you find somebody you are heavily attracted to, you want to be with, you like, oh my God, this is the best thing since sliced bread, right? Absolutely. You have to be okay with being you, Dre. In the midst of you loving and wanting to be with a person on an emotional level, you have to also recognize the intent for wanting to be in a relationship on the physical level. What is it that this person can give you? Do you know them? Do you know their intent? Do you know what it is that you have to bring to the table for them, and what it is that they need to bring to the table for you? Have you had those communications? Is this based on emotional? Is this based on sexual? Is this based on, what is it based on? Asking those questions and talking to yourself about that. Okay. In order to have a complementing relationship, you have to have realistic expectations. Now, we've been talking about this on and off, okay? You cannot say, listen, my partner has to be able to work 12 jobs and pay every single bill, even the bills for my whole family. Now, that's an unrealistic expectation. Now, I was very extreme with that, but that is very unrealistic, okay? We cannot set goals for our partners to try to meet and we're not able to do it ourselves. Don't laugh at me. I'm serious though. You would be surprised at some of the expectations people come up with. They be like, I need my partner to cook dinner every day, 365 days of the year. Whoa, that's a lot. That's a lot of cooking. And where's that time for leftovers if you're cooking every day and you're not thinking things through? And the unrealistic expectation will be so big and so unmanageable that it's hard for somebody to meet. And if you're unhealthy and your partner brings an unrealistic expectation to the table, you'll find yourself trying to meet an expectation that you would never be able to meet. And that's where there's grounds for insecurity, for low self-esteem, all of those things that come in because you're like, I feel like crap because I can't meet my partner's expectation and it was unrealistic in the first place. Yeah, you'd be. Now, I ain't never heard nobody say work 12 jobs, but I had to be extreme for a minute. Absolutely, sis. You have to love yourself. Absolutely. You have to be able to put you first. And you have to, yes, Dre. I 100% agree with that. You have to have something that you bring to the table. Absolutely. Absolutely. And that's, Eve says that being friends first saved me from getting into relationships that would have failed. Absolutely. I'm not dealing with you today, Tasha. I'm moving past I'm moving past your comment. Kenosha says, I expect my wife to be who she is and know that she will make mistakes. It is my job to pick her up when she fails. And absolutely, I think that that's so very important, right? When you are in a healthy, complementing relationship, you're able to meet your partner where they are. And when they fall short, you're like, I got you, right? It's not a one-sidedness. And I hear that. I hear that so clear, Kenosha. It's not one-sided. It's like, you know what? I look out for my partner. I'm checking them. They're checking me. There's a check and balance going on. And it's a healthy check and balance. It becomes toxic when, there's a constant you checking on your partner and they're not checking for you at all. Okay? So Dre says, communicate your expectations first. Eve says, I expect that my future partner doesn't squeeze. Stop. I'm done with the comments. Okay. I'm telling you right now. I'm done. The overnight relationships. Absolutely. There are a lot of people who enter relationships overnight. And they're literally overnight. They enter relationships very quickly. And if time is not invested in communication, you can get into a relationship fast and it be healthy because you have communicated your needs. You've probably brought your needs to the table. And that's the difference, right? When you're able to communicate your needs, there's not a time factor that says, okay, you have to be in relationship with somebody for 12 years before you enter into a marriage. No, you can enter into a relationship and have a healthy relationship in 2 days if you're communicating your needs properly and you're able to understand what it is that you're bringing to the table, what they're bringing to the table, and all of those things, that you're taking your time and recognizing what you feel and what's coming up for you in a relationship, and you're able to talk through that. There's no time factor on the relationship. So, y'all talk about this toothpaste ministry. Okay, so it's 9:02. We're gonna wrap up. Okay, so how do you compliment your partner? Communication. It's between two healthy people. Okay, two healthy people in communication. Okay, two healthy people are able to communicate what their needs are. And the last one, this is so very important, that in a complementing relationship, how to have a complementing relationship, you're creating a safe space for your partner to come to you about anything. Even if it's hurting, even if it's hurtful rather, you're able to facilitate a space that's safe enough for your partner to be like, listen, I could go and talk to old girl over here, but I need to talk to my lover. I need to talk to my person. I need to talk to the one that I'm in love with, right? And so recognizing that dynamic is so important. Being able to facilitate a safe space, kind of what we do right now. This is a safe space. Y'all talking about toothpaste and stuff right now. I'm just choosing to ignore that conversation, but talking about healthy stuff that's going to bring you to a place of healing is so important. Recognizing that communication is necessary for everything. How do you facilitate a safe space for your partner? How do you facilitate a safe space for yourself? How does your partner facilitate a safe space for you? Asking all of those questions. Do you feel comfortable talking to your partner? about certain things? Or do you feel like, no, I got to be reserved because I don't want them to feel no type of way? Those are all signs to look for. These are ways that you can assess the safety level in your relationship. Safety and security are foundational pieces to building a relationship. And how safe do you feel? Okay? All right, so that is our conversation. I hope that you all gained something. We'd like to check out with one word. I want to know how everybody is feeling. What are your last minute thoughts? If you have some, there's 14 people on. If you want to share, if you haven't shared, please feel free to share the video so other people can understand the difference between completing relationships and complementing relationships, okay? I really appreciate you for being on board. Join us Thursday. If you have a topic idea, you're more than welcome to hit us up and say, hey, this is what I would like to talk about, and we'll consider your ideas because definitely it's important that your voice is heard. So if you have an idea for Thursday night's topic, let's keep talking about it, okay? So everybody said they feel... Shanice said great. Oh, Teresina said great. Shanice says great conversation. Kenosha says wonderful. And that hopeful... Candace says, I needed this today. Thank you. Absolutely, Candace. I really appreciate you for being on board. Please stay connected. We go on live Sundays for our power at 6 p.m. Tuesdays and Thursdays for our weekly live. Okay. And we're in the transition. We're in the piece right now, the place right now of transitioning all of our videos into podcasts. So we got an iPad and we're in the transition of turning them into podcasts so you can listen on the go. I know it's hard sometimes to watch a full hour video while you're just watching the screen, but we're going to make it into podcasts so that you're able to listen on the go. You're able to plug it up in your car. You're able to listen to it at the gym so you can be empowered and you can be a better you. Okay. We are so very thankful and I'm happy that everybody is having good smiles and everyone, who has any suggestions, please feel free to reach out. We're very excited about you all connecting. Stay tuned and just remember that if nobody else out there loves you, I do.